This video is going to demonstrate some of MACE 2021 R1's new mission planning and rehearsal capabilities, specifically the mission rehearsal tool. I've started building a mission with a helicopter flying against an SA-8 SAM system. The intent of this mission is to get the helicopter to maneuver around the SA-8 without being shot down. The first step I'm going to take is drawing a radar mask analysis of the SA-8's radar against its assigned target, the helicopter. I will then use this mask to assist in placing the waypoints for the helicopter's route. So I've selected the SA-8, and I've also checked this target box. So I've assigned the target to the helicopter. Now we're using that helicopter's altitude and RCS data for this mask analysis. As you can see here, it's plotting where the SA-8's radar can see in relation to this target. I'm going to use this information to start devising the waypoints or the route for my helicopter. I've created a route for the helicopter which takes advantage of any direct terrain masking available. The next step in the mission planning process is going to use the new mission rehearsal tool to highlight any potential deficiencies in the route. The mission rehearsal tool is located on the analysis tab in the info status window section. Once the tool is open, there's going to be multiple tabs available depending on your objective. In this case, I'll be using the Route Evaluation tab. The tab allows us to analyze our own ship's route against any number of threats along its route. In this case, we'll be running the analysis against the lone SA-8 in our mission. The route increment setting that I'm changing from its default value of 500 to 100 will provide greater detail of the route evaluation. Instead of evaluating the route every 500 meters, I will set the increment to 100 meters. Finally, we're given the option to run the evaluation against the SA-8's weapons or its tracking sensor. Depending on which option you've chosen, the color of the route's evaluation will change. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Evaluate Route. Alright, now you'll notice that we've got some colors now along our route. In this case, the red represents a weapon impact as possible, orange means that you're in weapon range but he has reduced tracking, and yellow means it's capable of tracking but weapons cannot hit. I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to tracking sensor away from possible weapon hit. You'll notice that the colors have shifted a little bit, and what they stand for has also changed. So in this case, red now represents own ship can be tracked, orange means that you're in the MTI or Doppler notch, and yellow says you're taking advantage of indirect terrain masking. So we can see some areas in our route that have red. Ultimately, that's not desirable. So I'm going to go ahead and shift waypoint 6 to try and green up this entire leg of the route between waypoint 5 and 6. So I'm just going to hold down Control and drag waypoint 6, and you'll notice that the analysis is changing as I move that waypoint. So right now we've got all green and yellow on that spot in that increment of the route. So we're taking advantage of indirect terrain masking. So let's see if we can move any of these other waypoints to take advantage of any other either indirect terrain masking or the MTI or Doppler notch. So between 7 and 8 we're greened up, which is good. We're going to try and make the segment between 8 and 9 a little cleaner for us. Alright, so it looks like we've expanded some of our orange, or some of the time that we're in the MTI or Doppler notch, as well as breaking up this red section and adding some area where we're not going to be detected by his tracking sensor. Now it's time to do the flyout evaluation portion of our mission planning process. So I'm going to go over to the Flyout Evaluation tab on the mission rehearsal tool. Here you've got the ability to select any threats along the route to run the evaluation against. In this case I've got the SA-8 selected. Next, you get to select a specific point along the route where you'd like to run the flyout from. So you can use this button here, which allows you to select a specific point along the route, or you can right-click on the route and say Mission Rehearsal, perform flyout from here. The next step is selecting whether you'd like to run a maneuver. In this case, I'm not going to run a maneuver. And then adding a delay. So this would be the time after you've began the flyout of how long it takes for the pilot to respond. So in this case it's 2 seconds. So I'm going to go ahead and run this one, and I'm going to run it at an expedited time. So instead of checking real time, I'll just hit run flyout. So typically when you run this, it's going to ask you if you'd like to save the mission, because it ultimately will be running the mission when you hit run flyout. I saved the mission before I hit run, So just be aware that if you get this prompt after hitting run flyout, make sure you save your mission before running this, because it will overwrite any changes and revert back to the most recently saved version of that mission. So you can see here that we ran our flyout, and this red line and this blue line now appear on the MACE map. The red line is the trajectory of the SA-8's missile, red indicating that it was a hit. A blue line is the route that the helicopter took. In this case, I didn't do any maneuver, it just flew straight and was hit by the missile. So we're going to try and add a maneuver to this one to try and take advantage of, let's say, some terrain masking over here to try and avoid that missile or the tracking sensor. So I'm going to hit the drop down for maneuver. And these are all the scripts that you have in MACE. So you can create new scripts, new maneuvers that you want to take advantage of, or you can use any of the ones that are already in MACE. And we provided 4 of them for you. We've got SAM Evasion, which does an evasive maneuver, just something generic, dumping chaff and turning. And then you can use a delay to say, hey, after the flyout begins, I want to delay 2 seconds, trying to mimic a pilot's response time. Next one, you've got Evasion after shot, which means he's not going to engage the maneuver until after the missile has been fired, plus the delay if one has been entered. And then you have Evasion to location, which allows you to say, hey, I want to perform this maneuver, but I want to head to this specific location while performing that maneuver. So I'm going to go ahead and do the Evasion after shot. Sorry, I'm going to do Evasion to location to try and evade back over here where I know the tracking sensor cannot see me. So I'll put that. I will then select the to location. So I'm going to go ahead and click right here. And this time, let's go ahead and run it in real time. It's going to take longer, but it's going to give us real-time flyout of what's actually occurring. So I'm going to hit run flyout. Alright, so this time we ran it, we were greeted with a yellow line. That's an indication that the missile did not connect with our own ship. And you can see the blue line here shows where the helicopter went in his maneuver. So at some point here in this maneuver, we descended behind this terrain, tracking sensor dropped us, so the missile did not connect. So that's a success.